Hello, hello, and welcome everyone. How are you this morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be? Happy time zone to you. I do see Dream Cartographer is present in the chat. Good morning, afternoon, or evening to you as well. Happy time zone, of course. So, yes, welcome and thank you so much for joining me. I believe that the music was playing fine. Hopefully it was. Please let me know if it was not. I thought that I somehow solved the issue. Thank you. Yes, great. That means I solved the issue. That was very annoying. The last couple of days we could not have the little music, and it just felt like something was incomplete. But it's back, and I'm glad that it was working properly. Just a fun fact, I actually did compose that music as well. That is part of the soundtrack of Secret Agent Someone. And that was featured on the Escape Room Lifestyles of the Fish and Famous. Yesterday we played a little bit of my in-progress Choose Your Own Adventure style game called Team Building, featuring Secret Agent Someone. Well, there's another one. It's a bit longer, and it's kind of complicated to play on stream. But if you are interested in that, it's called Lifestyles of the Fish and Famous. And I think I did briefly talk about it before on stream. Here we go. If you want to check it out, you can go ahead and go into, click that. I will put the link here. And basically, I was featured on Escape This Podcast, which is awesome, by the way. Bill and Danny are such cool people, and they allowed me to be a guest and run an escape room for them. Usually Danny will create the rooms and have different guests come on and run through it. But sometimes they have the guests come on and make their own style rooms, kind of like her rooms, and then they will run through it. Bill is hilarious. And yeah, so basically you can listen along. You can run it for somebody if you want to play it. Basically, it's a virtual escape room. So if you're not familiar with virtual escape rooms or any escape rooms, the concept is that you are stuck in a room and you can't get out. Well, that's the main premise of most of them. Sometimes there's creative escape rooms that the concept is slightly different, but that's the gist. You're stuck in a room and you want to get out, and then you have to solve puzzles to get out. Audio escape rooms are a fun format where instead of being in an actual room, you are just, it's kind of like an RPG. As my siblings and I used to play something called What Would You Do Things, because we didn't know what RPGs were. And you just say, okay, you're in a room, then what do you do? And then you say, I looked around. So, okay, you see a picture on the wall. And so I look behind the picture. Oh, there's a code behind the picture. And then you use the code to punch it into the door and escape or something like that. So it's really fun. It may sound weird. It might sound boring, but it's really fun if you just take a listen or if you are playing one yourself. There's so much you can do. Dream Cartographer said that she needs to finish the podcast episode for that. She was salty about losing the timestamp. Oh no. I'm so annoyed when that happens as well. And I'm like listening to something in a browser on my phone or something, and then something happens and then the page reloads. It's such an annoying occurrence. But if you kind of remember where you were, I might know where that is and I can help you out. But yeah, don't feel bad. The episode was nearly like 2 hours long, I think. Let's see, how long was this? Oh, yes, it was an hour and 50 minutes and 25 seconds. So, of course, I do not expect you to listen to it all in one sitting. If you're busy, you have something else to do. But personally, I like to listen to podcasts like this when I'm doing dishes or working from home, doing busy stuff. That I'm a weird person where my mind has to multitask. So I will if I'm doing something with my hands, but it's like a repetitive motion, then I need my brain to be thinking about something or doing something, or it will just be boring. So, listening to those kind of podcasts that have, thinking elements to them. During the pandemic, I binged the Escape This podcast. That's when I found it. I was working from home, and I binged all of the Sherlock Holmes books. There's Magpie Audio. Sam Wagland, he's awesome on YouTube. You have to look him up. If you want to listen to Sherlock Holmes stories, he does them for free on his YouTube channel. He reads them so incredibly, and he does such a good job. Sam Wagland with Magpie Audio, and he did almost all of the books. So when there were some books, I'm like, wait, he didn't do this one, and I tried to find it, and it was another person, narrating. I was like, ugh, I really don't, I can't get with it because Sam Wagland did such a good job. And then I listened to the other person, and then like a couple of days later, Sam uploaded his version of it. I'm like, oh man, I should have waited. But yes, I binged all the Sherlock Holmes books that he narrated. And he does lots of other kind of mysteries too. He does a lot of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and he's just a nice thing to listen to. I like listening to like mystery stuff, different podcasts. There's Escape This podcast, of course, which was very nice. I binged their whole thing, and at first it's weird listening to another person going through an escape room, but they make jokes. It's fun. It's funny. They even provide supplements so you can try to solve things if you want to. Yeah, and then there's another podcast called Finish It, which is where these two brothers, the old brothers, they run through the Choose Your Own Adventure books. And they do some Goosebumps as well. Right now they're doing a Choose Your Own Adventure kind of style Nintendo game book. So it's all about Luigi. Mario does not appear. And it's so funny. They make comments about the books. They, make the different choices, and they make it where every episode, each of them just gets to do one run, one read. And then it's a series. So next episode, they'll do another read, and until the book is finished. So that's why it's called Finish It, because they are trying to finish all the books. And that's kind of hilarious. It may seem like a weird concept as well, but it's cool. So, and then there's other podcasts I listen to that are less fun in games. There's some Christian entrepreneur podcasts and different other kind of things. I just like to listen to things while I'm doing stuff. So, I have gone on another tangent, haven't I? But nevertheless, we are supposed to be doing summer camp, which yesterday I totally threw out the window because we did our Choose Your Own Adventure style game. We did leave off on a cliffhanger, but yes, Completionist Game Book Podcast, that's right. So you must have heard of it before. Yes. So I have here the Wynsumheord map, and as I was saying, for the past few days, there's two prompts in this category of expanse that I'm not sure fit with Secret Agent Someone at the time. I know we were thinking about some kind of thing for like the agents to eat something as a test of poison. That's a great is that what it's actually called? Oh yes. Oh, you didn't hear it before. Okay, so when they come on, they say, welcome to Finish It, the Completionist Interactive Fiction Podcast. That's what they say. So I thought you heard but that's literally what they say. So you got the gist, even though you didn't know about it. But yes, that is exactly what they say. Funny. Okay. But yes, anyway, I just think that the tasting of poison is a great concept. And that is definitely something that I will probably try to write about in this world. It's just that I don't think that it falls under ritual as much as it falls under, something else. Because a ritual, when you think of a ritual, you're thinking of like a coming of age kind of thing, or like a birthday or a retirement or something like that. Yes, it may be a thing where when you graduate from a certain status, then you have to be able to taste this poison. But I feel like it won't just be the food. It feels like when you graduate from school, it's not like you only taste a cake and then you graduate from school. Like there's a bit more that goes into it. So that's the only reason why I don't think that I want to focus on that for the ritual. I think that I can go ahead and travel to Wynsumheord for just these two prompts. It's not too bad. I'm still trying to stay primarily in the world of Secret Agent Someone, but I can give it my fantasy world a visit for a moment, I believe. So, as I was talking about yesterday, these kingdoms here. So in Wynsumheord, if you're not familiar, there are four kingdoms that surround kind of a land in the middle. There's the kingdom of the north, which is Nervanheath, the kingdom of the south, which is Cyberag, the kingdom of the east, which is Ederlin, and the kingdom of the west, which is Westerheid. And basically, there were these four kingdoms. They were big. They had all the power and everything, but there was a land in the middle here that was considered forbidden territory because there were so many myths about how if you wander into that land, you will never come back. And there were different occurrences that happened where kings would send messengers from the north to the south to tell something to the king of Cyberag and stuff like that, and then the message was never delivered. So they started saying, we have to go through this kingdom here, they have to go through this kingdom there. Yep, northeast, south, west. That's exactly it. So the kingdom of the north starts with N, south starts with S, east starts with E, and W starts, west starts with W. Yep, that was intentional. So yes, they would start to send their messengers and merchants and things like that through the other kingdoms to go the long way around, because whenever they went through this straight land here, they would never emerge from the other side. So they were starting to think suspicions about this this land. They would get superstitions about it and say that like, oh no, there must be beasts that roam there, must be cursed, we need to leave that land alone. So these kingdoms were always trying to expand. They would expand outward, like the northern king would expand upward if there was room up there for him to expand. The east king would expand eastward, west king would expand westward, south king would expand southward. But they would not expand inward because they thought that land was cursed or inhabited by evil beasts, something that was causing their servants not to return. In truth, the servants were just not coming back. They did not want to be oppressed by the kingdoms. So what they did was they just pretended to be lost, and then one by one, slowly but surely, they began to create their own settlements in this middle land. And some of the beasts that they thought, were here, some of them were real beasts, because yes, there's some fantastical animals here as well. This is a fantasy world. But some of them were just, people just, playing tricks. There were people already that did inhabit some of these lands. And kind of like the Nervanheath people. So right on this edge is a forest. It has now been divided into two, but there was the Fergenhold Wood and the Sunderwick Forest. And the Nervanheath people kidnapped a lot of the tribes from there and took them to Nervanheath. And they made them abandon their ways, and they basically made them servants. So soon the Sunderwick and Fergenhold people, at first they were one people, but as they began to, live in the kingdom, the Sunderwick people started adapting some of the ways of the kingdom, and that they thought were okay. And the Fergenhold people wanted to stay strict as they were when they were the tribes in the forest. So when they decided to escape again, they went back to their forest, but now they were slightly divided because the Sunderwicks embraced some of the ways of the kingdom, even though they did not embrace some of the ways that they thought were, not good. But the Fergenhalt people did not want anything to do with any of the ways of the kingdom, even if they were considered okay. Like, Sunderwick people riding on horses, they thought, that's a good idea. We can ride on horses as long as, we're not whipping them or being harsh to them or mean to them. We just take care of them. The Fergenhalt people, they never did want to ride on animals. So, these forest people were very into nature, one with nature, and they didn't hunt unless they actually needed to eat. They didn't even, pick flowers unless they were going to eat the flowers. They didn't just pick flowers to put in a vase and just sit there because they thought that that was wasteful. The flower would die with no purpose. You leave those plants in the wild to grow. You don't just kill them for no reason. The same with animals. They didn't want to hunt animals unless they were actually going to eat them, and they made use of all the animal. They didn't just hunt for sport or something like that. So the Sunderwick people adapted some ways of the kingdom more than the Fergenhalt people. The Fergenhalt people wanted to go back to the way they were and coexist with nature and not mess with it. So that was their main point of disagreement. And in doing this, they divided their forest into two places now. Once they escaped from the kingdom and they realized that they had different thoughts, they said, whoever wants to adopt ways of the kingdom, fine, we'll leave you alone, but you go over there. And we stay over here. And there was a war between them. There was a feud between them, but, that's a story for another time, I suppose. I have already written about both of those tribal people, so I don't think that I will write about them for the ethnicity that lives near a great expanse or in a great expanse, because I've already written about them. I don't think... Let me see who I've written about, because let's see. Characters. See, I've already written about the forest tribes. The Sunderwickians and the Fergenhalt woodsmen. We've already done that. I don't think I've written about these other places. Their specific ethnicities. So if you are interested in a certain territory, feel free to shout it out in the chat, and then I can decide to write the ethnicity prompt on one of those. We have, of course, the four kingdoms, Norvenheath, Ederland, Cyberag, and Wasterheit. We also have these little settlements within the Cursed Land, which is now called Wynsumheord. So to finish that story off, by the time all the kings figured out, hey, wait, all of our servants are just not coming back, I think that there's something suspicious. But the kings were too scared to go into the land on their own, so they would send other people, like their high soldiers and things like that. So those high soldiers were loyal, and they would not stay unless they were detained. So the people who had created settlements would just kidnap them or tie them up or stop them from returning back to their kings. And the kings got so suspicious that they said, fine, we are actually going to go into this land and see what's going on, because every time we send somebody, they don't come back. Or they come back with terrifying stories of how we shouldn't go. So we're just going to gather up our soldiers and all go in. So all the four kings made an alliance. They decided to traverse into the land, and they found that, oh no, this settlement is up, and it had been up for years. And they had already declared the name of their independent region, Wynsumheord. And they were like, no, this isn't fair. You know, if this land isn't cursed, we want it. And the people were like, no, we've left you. We don't want to be part of your kingdom anymore. So the kings gathered up and started saying, you know what, we're going to fight over this land. The kings of the north, east, south, and west said, we're going to fight over this land, and whoever wins the land. And then the people who had created settlements was like, no, you can't leave us out. We've created the settlement. This is our kingdom. So if you're going to fight over the land, we're going to fight as well. And if we defeat you guys, we're going to get your kingdoms in the north, east, south, and west. And at first the kings were just laughing, you know. But then they realized this people is comprised of our soldiers. They know our battle secrets. And while the king of the north might not know those secrets of the king of the south, and the king of the east might not know the secrets of the king of the west, well, all of those kingdoms have people in this settlement here who know all the secrets of all the kingdoms. So then they started getting scared because they thought, oh man, these guys really might be able to defeat us. So they said, you know what, we're not going to do that. We don't want to risk losing our kingdom. So fine, well, we can fight, but if we win, you know, fine. We're not going to fight over you, I mean. We are just going to let you stay here. Because they had to make an agreement. I don't remember all the details, but they made an agreement to let them stay there because they were intimidated and scared that they were going to end up taking over their own kingdoms. But even though they made that agreement, the Washtrite king, there were soldiers there who weren't forced to stay. Okay, so this is what I mean. So say the North King had soldiers. Some of his soldiers escaped into the settlement. So now he's no longer identifying with the Nervenheath kingdom. He doesn't want to be part of that. But he's part of this Wynsumheord now, which was the cursed land. So then also, Ederland soldiers escaped, and Cyberag soldiers escaped, and Washtrite soldiers escaped. So then they decide to make their own force of soldiers, which are called Munberdians. So now we have Munberdians who are teams from, they've come from everywhere. So the soldiers that escaped from Nervenheath, they know some of the inside secrets of Nervenheath, but they're not loyal to them anymore. So they're sharing those secrets with their fellow Munberdian brothers so that they can be able to defeat the Nervenheath if they come to attack. So that's basically what was happening. Yes, yes, yes. So the kingdoms got scared because they realized that Wynsumheord is now more powerful because they have soldiers from all of the kingdoms on their side. And they did not want to risk, you know, getting defeated. Even though it seemed unlikely, they didn't want to risk it because they were deep down scared that somehow these people, these conglomeration of random folks could somehow take all four of them down. And they just didn't want to risk that. So they backed off, they made an agreement, but the King of the West never did agree. He did not sign. He did not verbally even acknowledge that. When everybody said they agreed, he did not, because he was upset at this, and he was going to make it his mission to destroy Wynsumheord. He was the most violent of the kings. So every time something happened and he would get upset, he would send men in to terrorize the people of Wynsumheord. He would try to send men in to capture women and children, destroy their soldiers, kidnap them, and everything else. Yes. Yep, there were soldiers who were detained. So yes, some of the time when the kings would send in soldiers, you know, to test out, even if those soldiers were loyal, then the Wynsumheord people would either capture them, try to beat secrets out of them, or try to turn them over to their side so that they don't come rat them out to the kingdoms. So yeah, they have people that were willingly joining them, but they also have people that got the secrets beat out of them, and you know, stuff like that. It depends. They wanted to trust people. They wanted to expand their organization, but they still didn't want to risk letting a soldier go back and rat them out. So if they thought that the soldier was going to go say, "Oh man, guys, king, they're not cursed. This land, they're creating their own settlements." They didn't want to risk that happening. So if the soldier wasn't in with the plan, they would still detain them. Yes, you're right. But anyway, the Washtrite king, so you will see this settlement here, is Edwisburg. It was the smallest settlement, and it is now considered destroyed because the Washtrite king one day raided it. Since it was the closest to the Washtrite kingdom, he was terrorizing them all the time, but he one day snapped and just decided to raid the whole Edwisburg, and the Wynsumheord people never did rebuild it. They were too traumatized. Unfortunately, Edwisburg is where Magnar and Sindri's mom is from, and she was visiting relatives at the time when Wasserheit raided them. So she did not return to Haven after that time. So Haven is where Magnar and Sindri and their father Havarder live. Edwisburg is where she went for a holiday to, I think it was her sister's wedding or something like this. Her cousin's wedding, yes, here it is. And so she didn't return. Havarder was quite saddened by this, and he decided that was the time for him to turn his boys into men, and he made them train and fight and hunt, and unfortunately Sindri did not want this. Sindri is, you would say, he's kind of soft, and he was a mother's boy, so he didn't take this very well, but he also didn't want to become violent. He didn't want to hunt, and he didn't want to fight. He was kind of doing the women's work around the house, as you would say. He learned a lot from his mother. He loved gardening and cooking and stuff like that, and yes, he was kind of made fun of for it. But his brother Magnar, he tries to encourage him to try to get stronger, but Magnar still understands how Sindri is, and he doesn't try to push him too hard. But the dad does, only because he cares about him, and he doesn't want Sindri to end up being too weak and defenseless. So yeah, that's a thing. If you were part of my epic character competition last year, I believe, there was a time where we did a plot twist, and they went to a tavern, and they went to a cavern as well. First they were in a jail, then they went to a cavern, then they went to a tavern, and there were some Munbirdians sitting at the table. Havarder was one of them, which is the father of Magnar and Sindri. And yes, so there's all kinds of different ethnicities I can focus on, because I don't think I wrote articles for either of them. Whichever one you think would be most interesting, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. There is Edwisburg, which is now destroyed. There's Lytlecroft, where you may remember, or not, you may remember the Lytlecroft witch was in the tavern. Oh yes, you just went to the server to check. Yes, so the Lytlecroft witch is from Lytlecroft, and she was in the tavern. Her name is Furta, and she gave them the 3 magical discs. Yes. Yep. So that's a thing. There's also Clottendale, which on the map has a spelling error, and I have still not repaired that. I do need to make it a case to do that, but it's correct here. Clottendale, not here. Clottenvale. It's not Clottenvale, so just ignore that. It's Clottendale. Then we have Haven, which is where Magnar, Sindri, and Havarder are from. We have Tangoon, which this is the place where there's lots of mountains, and there are some beasts, like there's different beasts, but there's also different like ethnicities of creatures, like humanoid creatures such as elves, dwarves. There's garden Bophians, which are kind of like orcs, but they're a little more they have more human features, but they're very big, muscular, their faces are kind of wide, and they have teeth and stuff like that. So Tangoon is full of all kinds of really fantasy kinds of characters. Then there's Hengra, and this is where Magnar and Sindri's cousin, Burke the Jerk, as he is dubbed, is from. And for some reason, people like Burke the Jerk, and you can read stories about him if you'd like to. But we'll save that for later. As the name suggests, he's kind of a jerk. But yes, we can focus on one of these places and flesh out the ethnicities of the people. So I know that we do have a lot of those fantasy Tangoon people. I think I already do have articles for those. Oh, we only have dwarves here. Yeah, so we can do, because I felt like I had way more here. But I guess it's mostly in my brain and in short stories. I wrote a lot of short stories in this world, which are connected to a bigger story. I also do play like an RPG style in another Discord server with Magnar and Sindri, a more fantasy-based one. But yeah, this is a great place to revisit. And then for the ritual of eating, I was thinking about maybe some of the forest tribes. Like the Sunderwick Forest, I believe that I did focus on something with the Siadu, which are the warriors, but then also there are like, I think, of course, they're kind of more traditional, so they have it where there are some women warriors, of course, but then there's also some women that stay around the camps and around and take care of the children and do the cooking and stuff like that, and take care of the soldiers when they come back from their battles. So there is a tradition where, you know, becoming a young lady, you will follow in the footsteps of your well, not ancestor, like direct descendant. You're the direct descendant, so like either your mom or your grandma, or, you know, if they're not present, another older elder of the tribe. And I think it's mostly like bread, but it could be another dish. I feel like there's a tradition where, as you become a young lady, you try to bake the bread exactly as your mother did, or exactly as your grandmother did, and then you taste them, and as the tribe gathers around for the ceremony, the bread is tasted, and they see if, you know, it tastes the same as the one that your mother baked or that the elder baked. And as if it does taste enough like it, then you are considered a young lady and you have passed, you know, the test. So that is something that I think that I wanted to write about for the ritual. So, if we want to, we can take a look at that. Let's see, articles. And we can go ahead and... I forgot what to do. What am I doing? This is not what we do. It's dashboard. Dashboard, okay. Like, I am confused. What am I looking at? Okay. So, it would be ritual. Where is it? Tradition, yes. I can just name it baking of bread for now. The Sunderwick women who stay around. Oh. Okay. Sorry like that, but I just did a little sprint there. Unfortunately, I did not even say anything about it being a sprint. Let's see. Catch up on the chat. Thinking of creating a new World Anvil page. Yes, do it, do it, do it. Um, Brand new world from scratch. You don't have an idea for one, but you thought you'd come up with a small random idea and build from there. Great, great, great. Yes, always good to start a new world. The fun thing about it is I have so many ideas in my head, and I think that World Anvil helps me to get them out because while some people, yes, it's great if you think of a new random concept and build from there. That is an awesome way to get your creativity out. But even if you're like me and you have so many things in your head and you don't know where to start, you can literally just spin a random wheel, roll a die, and say, which world am I going to start with? Because I tell you, I have like 17 billion ideas in my head. There's everything from sci-fi, fantasy, and not like, Secret Agent Someone, like I said, is more mild sci-fi, even though there are some ridiculous machines, like a time machine maybe, might exist. I don't know. It might not. Just because people are trying to make one doesn't mean it actually exists, but it might, which would be way out there sci-fi. But as I said, there's sci-fi worlds that I have even better. I mean, not better necessarily, but even more sci-fi than Secret Agent Someone. There's like people going in space, aliens, and stuff like that, living among humans, or just the whole setting is just on another planet. I have so many kind of things like that, and then there's even things that are on Earth that may be considered a little bit more boring than Secret Agent Someone, because of course he's on Earth, but there's still a lot of action. I have some boring drama, romance kind of things that don't have too much, action. Then I have other kinds of genre of kind of a little bit action, but it's more drama and stuff like that. So I have too many things in my head, as I always say, and I sometimes don't even know. Yes, infinite plot bunnies. If you look in my head, I don't know if you've ever watched the Teletubbies. How they're in the grassy hills and like there's bunnies everywhere. That's how my brain is. And even when I say, okay, I'm gonna focus on this, then I say, hey, wait, let me go over here. Or like I will see a prompt that reminds me of this world. Like I said, in this world building prompt for summer camp, I tried to stay in Secret Agent Someone's world, but you see, I automatically got drawn over here because I'm like, that baking bread is better to, work on than something in the Secret Agent Someone world. Yes, I guess it is pretty awesome, but it can also be a little frustrating, as in, I feel like I just want, I wish that I could just close my eyes and just, bing, open my eyes and see like 15 books are already written sitting on my desk in front of me. If it was that easy, of course, I would just keep thinking of the ideas and keep making the books, but unfortunately, it's not that easy. So, sometimes I'm like, when am I going to find time to tell everybody about this? When am I going to find time to do this? And, like, I can't always. So that's one of the reasons why I'm always doing short stories, because short stories are a great way to kind of just get little pieces out there. And if you like to, there is a short story, let me see, I'm on the site called Prose, which is where, let me see, books. Here we go. So I have all kinds of different books that I started and did not finish. But the good thing about short stories is you can just leave it there and that's it. So if you guys would like to read more about Wynsumheord, which this is something that I was working on even before I even started with Secret Agent Someone, you can go ahead and check those out. There's quite a few stories. Some of them are disjointed, and some of them I was supposed to continue and I didn't. But the good thing about short stories is you can pick them up anytime, you can drop them back down anytime, and that's just the best I can do. Because yeah, it is so hard to focus and finish stuff. I still have things. When I first started, I wrote a chapter of a thing. I even forgot that I even put it on here, and people were like, "Are you gonna finish this?" And I saw it was like 3 years ago. I'm like, ah. So yeah, it's funny. At least I got the first chapter out. But yes, if you go on my prose site, you will see so many things that I've started, and you know, I can't necessarily finish them right away. So there's so many kinds of things that I have. Yes, I have some Secret Agent Someone stuff on there, and these are just the books that I have. But there's also different posts that I've posted, all these kinds of things. If you are interested in looking into these, feel free. There's a lot of Secret Agent Someone, of course, because that's what I've been recently working on. But if you scroll past all that stuff, you will start to see all kinds of weird, strange stories that I created, and a lot of Wynsumheord stuff, and a lot of poems, and a lot of everything. Just so many things. And yeah, sometimes I like to look back at my own writing, and I think, like this. I just wrote a twist on Goldilocks and the Three Bears called Xanth Goldberg Robs the Bruins. So it's like a modern day thing where a girl was trying to rob a house. It was trying to be the Three Bears, and you know, she was a babysitter for the baby bear. Which in this story, they're not bears really. Their last name is just Bruin, and they have names that mean bears. Like Arthur actually means bear. Funny. And like the mom, I forgot what her name was. Where's her? Bernadette. Yes, I think that means brown, or it means bear or something. And of course, the little boy's name, Theodore, nicknamed Teddy because that's Teddy Bear. So it's just an alternate version of the Three Little Bears, and on Tales with a Twist, I have Little Red riding through the hood, which is a modern Little Red Riding Hood, and then I have The Sky is Falling, which was just for a challenge. It was just a really little small news story about Chicken Little and stuff like that. So yeah, I have a lot of weird, fun things on this site, but this is just where I go to just dump ideas out of my head that I may or may not ever pick back up. Like I have the infinite imagination of Isabella Ives, which is one of my older story ideas. And I published chapter 1 and I never published another chapter. And it's not to say that I don't have those chapters in my head. It's just that I can't put them on the page right now. I just can't because, it's too much. Like a lot of times let's get off of here because I'm starting to see everything and I'm starting to get distracted. Let's see. Speaking of stories, this year I am exactly twice the age I was when I did my first NaNoWriMo. Wow, that's a lot. Congratulations. No matter how old you are, if you're twice the age you were when you started your first NaNoWriMo, that means you've been doing it for quite a while, and that's an accomplishment. You want to build this new world from scratch, write no novella or novel just for fun, without any intentions of trying to get it published. If I start this WorldAnvil page thing now, I'll have a setting and maybe an idea plot by October. That's correct. That's so true. That's a great idea because sometimes when you think you're trying to get it published, then you're just going to be staying there, being a perfectionist. Oh no, this isn't good, rewrite, draft, redraft, redraft, and then you're just going to be like worrying the mess out of yourself. So that's one of the reasons probably why I just publish short stories, because I don't care that, a lot of times publishers want first rights. So if I really wanted to get published, I wouldn't share any of my work like that, because the publisher will be like, oh man, you already had this up for 5 years, we don't want this. But instead, I'm not worried about being published. If I am going to publish, I want to self-publish, because it's less, even though publishing companies, of course, they're great sometimes. sometimes. And they will give you more publicity, they will give you more exposure, and people are more likely to purchase something if it's from a notable company. They might see it on their website, or it might be advertised. Self-publishing, you have to do way more advertisement yourself. You have to do way more legwork. But I still think that the benefits, for me personally, outweigh the cons with self-publishing, because I like to kind of do what I want when I want. I don't want to be restricted in what I can and can't write by publishers and stuff like that. A lot of times, all of my ideas, they're so varied in genre, but I always like to share my faith in the work, which is something that some publishers might want me to take out, or is something that they'll be like, well, does this have to be there? So I personally don't want to change that part. I want to keep my faith in that work. So I want to, publish it myself. And yes, you may say there are some Christian publishing companies, but a lot of times Christian publishing companies would be more traditional. And I don't know, there may be some that are a bit less traditional, but a lot of times they're like either nonfiction, or there's like the classic Christian fiction, which is not necessarily genre encompassing. It doesn't necessarily cover all the kinds of genres that I do. And it's funny because I have a horror, and I have romance and all that kind of stuff, but it still does have my faith in it. And some people might be thinking it's kind of weird, so instead of having to go through the publishers and then they tell me what should be in it or what shouldn't be in it, or why is this in it, or let's change this, I just want to publish it myself. And if people buy it, good. If people don't, I'm okay, because ultimately I'm just doing this for myself and to share with those who actually enjoy it. And if one day I am able to make a living off of my creative works, that would be wonderful. But I'm not stressing about that. Everything I'm doing in the writing department is not just so that I can make it as an author. I'm just mainly doing it for me and to share with those who do enjoy it. So I publish free stories, and there are people who like it and follow it and look forward to the next chapter. And I recently, as Dream Cartographer knows, she purchased the chapter to the Secret Agent Someone Troubled Beginnings book. So I am appreciative of everybody who does support me, whether they read free things or even purchase things that cost money, or just give me a donation or anything. I'm always thankful and appreciative to everybody who even takes the time to look at the creative stuff I do, the jewelry I make, the things I write, the pictures I take, or even these little fun ramping tangent streams where I'm just talking about nothing and typing 255 words into WorldAnvil. I'm still thankful for all the interactions I have with everybody who appreciates my creative works. Let's see. If I've skipped several years of Nano, so you don't have much street cred. Oh, that's okay. So that's good. So if last time you did Nano, you're twice the age now, that's fine. That's a great milestone to jump back in. And of course, I think my first Nano may have been either 2019, I think. And I feel like I've been doing it for way longer than that. But for some reason, I guess I've been writing for longer than that. But there's so many writing communities and writing programs that I was not familiar with. And that's why it's so great to, when you have a site you're on, share it. When you have a camp you're doing, share it. And I feel like I've been on WorldAnvil for a long time, but literally I realized that I just joined in 2020. Which is so funny. I feel like I've been there for way longer than that. So, yeah, it's just great. I just, aw, you appreciate me too. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. And you guys help me to be motivated to finish things, to write, and to keep posting. And instead of, when sometimes I have something and it's not complete and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to show anybody, then when you guys are interested I think, well, what the hey, I will show it anyway, even if it has a few errors, even if I'm not done with it, I'm just gonna show it because I like to share things. And if you guys are enjoying it, then I'm enjoying it. And that makes me smile when you guys read and watch and like and, enjoy my work. Oh, wow. The first Nano was in 2009 and you're 13. You were 13. Wow. Wow, that's a long time though, and that's a great thing because even if you did not complete it every year, at least you were familiar with it, you knew about it. You kind of, I still see you as somebody who has way more nano experience than me. Yeah, that's fine though, because at least you've known about it for all this time. Even if you weren't actively participating in it, you know how it works, you know about the goals, you know about, the things you did, and by it being so long ago, you can look back and say, okay, if you remember what you did last time, you will know like this time what I should do. Um, you're not so old. Fun fact, I'm 25 years old, so you're only a year older than me, depending on when your birthday is. So, yeah, I just turned 25 March 13th, 313. So yeah, I am officially a quarter of a century old, which is very funny to say. But, um, wait, not century, yes, century. I cannot think. I believe it's century, yes. But anyway, I'm 25, which is a quarter of 100 years. A quarter of 100 years old. So, yeah, it is actually time to go, unfortunately. Time flew by, but at least we did get our ritual down. And I will know that I can focus on one of those ethnicities for um, the other prompts. And I think that that means that we have all of our. Do we have all of them? At least started, I believe. Oh no, we're in Wynsumheord. Go back to Secret Agent Someone. Case files. Summer Camp 2022. I'm in the wrong place. My brain is having a hard time thinking. Okay. So yes, we have 1, 2, 3. The ethnicity, we're going to delete that because we're going to keep that over there in Magnar and Sindri's world. The ritual, we're going to delete that because we're going to keep that in Magnar and Sindri's world of Wynsumheord. So we have all of the prompts started. And tomorrow is Saturday, so I will not be streaming, but WorldAnvil will be streaming, and the next 8 prompts will be released. And that will cover, you're not so old. Yes, well, it's contradicting myself. Well, it did pass by so fast. And the leadership prompts, yes, you're right. Leadership prompts will be streaming tomorrow. That's what I was saying. So WorldAnvil will be streaming tomorrow. I will not be streaming tomorrow because it's the weekend. I do not stream on the Saturdays and the Sundays. But I will be back on Monday, and we will look at leadership, which is surprising and a little bit scary. Because, yeah, let's just talk a little bit about it. Yeah, we're going to go over a bit. So we already have all these started. And today I should hopefully perfectly be able to make each one of these prompts last 300 words at least. I see we already have like let's see, this one has 223 words. Good. That's not far from 300. This one only has 16. It's fine. This has halfway there, 150 words. This one has 212 words. This one has 102 words. And this one has 31 words. So it's not too much. It's not too much where I can't make all of them up to 300 and publish them. Even if we revisit them and clean them up a little bit, add art to them, we still have time. We still have until the end of July to actually finish them, but I just want to make sure that I'm not too behind. And these are in a good spot. These are in a good spot. And guess what? With the Wynsumheord, we just did 225 words for this ritual, which is awesome. And I'm gonna go in NaNoWriMo because yesterday I did not update my count. I sure didn't. Because I didn't do anything. We did the choose your own adventure. So we are, yay! Now almost at 1,000 words out of 50,000, which is a lot, but yet not a lot at all. But it's okay. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. Once I get these all to 300, everything will be great, and we're looking forward to the leadership. So let's see, real quick, before we end this stream, what kind of leadership prompts there may be. Yes, buildings. There could be buildings that deal with leadership. Where are the leaders headquartered at? Something like the White House, or a castle where the Queen may stay. You know, that's a leadership prompt. We have character, of course, which is probably going to be the most popular leadership article template, because we focus on who is the leader, or even who are the people that are led by the leader. We have a condition. I don't know about that one. Leader. It's not really very leader. It could be something like, how did the leader handle what's a condition that, you know, a leader had to make decisions about how to handle, which recently we've had an experience for the past 2 years, where lots of leaders around the world had to make a decision about a condition that was worldwide spread, which I will not name, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. A conflict. Of course, leaders have to face conflicts all the time. It could be a war. Who led the war? What happened around the war? Who started the war? You know, all kinds of leaders. Countries, of course. A leader of a country. You're going to ask, what country, what is a country who is led by a tyrannical leader in your world? Or what is a country that is led by a benevolent leader in your world? Or something like that. Document. What is a document that was signed by a leader? Like in the United States, of course, there's the Declaration of Independence, which we just celebrated the 4th of July. So yeah, things like that. We have an ethnicity. We can say what kinds of ethnicities in your world, you know, you can tell about the leadership qualities or leadership ideals of a certain ethnicity in your world. God, deity, you could say sometimes people have those as leaders. What is a deity that leads or is said to lead a certain people? Geographical region, you can talk about one that is led by a leader. An item that is owned by a leader. A language maybe that was invented or put into practice by a leader. A material. There's lots that can be done. I can't think of anything very specific about a material. But of course, a military unit can be led by a leader. There can be a myth or legend about a leader. An organization led by a leader. A profession, as I said, that is following a leader. A religion. A leader in the religion. You know, a pastor or some kind of, you know, leader. A title that is given to a leader. We have settlements. We can talk about a settlement that is being led by a leader. Species. I don't know. There could be animals or plants that have to do with the leader. And tradition. We can talk about another kind of tradition about how a leader is inaugurated or appointed. And of course, as we talked about last time, the vehicle that the leader rides in. It could be a chariot, it could be a plane, it could be a limousine, it could be anything. So let's see what we're saying. Who controls the hive mind virus and leads the mindless victims? Yeah, that's a thing to think about. Do prompts ever require a plot article template? No, I don't think any of them ever do require a plot article template. I would like that, I think, but I don't think they ever have done that summer camp. I'm gonna have to check again, but I don't think they did that in summer camp. There are some other challenges that do require it, like Adventure April required a plot article template. But yeah, a lot of times they won't have you do a spell, a plot, or what is it? Natural law. No, sometimes they still do natural law, I think. But yes, it's prose. They don't have you do prose, plot, or spell, I don't think. Or a session report. Like, some of these are just, because as I said, these are still TTRPG kind of based site. This is still like a tabletop role-playing D&D kind of site. So a lot of these articles just help you when you're in your games. So you can run a session report, you can, tell about a spell or something like that, but not every world has spells. Not every person on WorldAnvil is running D&D games. So they're not going to force you to do one of those. It has to be something that is, genre agnostic and can fit every kinds of person who's on WorldAnvil. Because there are D&D players, TTRPG game masters, and then we have novel writers, and we have people that just have the idea for a world and it's just there, so yeah, it doesn't matter. We have a lot to think about when it comes to leaders, and thank you to Dream Cartographer for suggesting that it doesn't have to necessarily just be leaders in not Wynsumheord. There I go. Will-O-Wisp. It doesn't have to necessarily be the official leaders that are so secretive up high in Will-O-Wisp, but it can also talk about leaders of specific missions and things like that, or leaders in the world that were protected by the creeping junipers and things like that. So we have a lot to look at, and I'm excited for tomorrow's stream. It's going to stream at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which you can translate into your time zone, because time zones are, and time is, so I don't know what to say, but yes, we will figure out the prompts. And even if you cannot tune in, I will be back on Monday covering all of them for you. So once again, thank you so much for staying over time. We're 10 minutes over, but I appreciate you guys hanging out in the chat, lurking even if you're not talking, and just going through this with me in the summer camp. And I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, and have a blessed day. Love you guys, and happy time zone. Happy camping.